seated and say go quiet, please. Okay, can I just actually check that we have a chief constable in the room?
No, I've just messaged somebody just to say she's how far away she is.
Right, okay, that's absolutely fine.
I've got a message back, nearly there.
That's okay. Right, everyone, good afternoon. I don't know why we've got so many vacant seats, because this was completely sold out.
MSB on the way.
MSB on the way. Okay. Anyway, we'll make a start, because the one thing I know is that people don't like to run over. You know, we might get kicked out if we're still here at 5 o'clock, so better if we make a start, I think. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Oh, I think we'll do that again. That was pathetic. Oh, come on now. We didn't have an awards year last year, so come on. Hello, everybody. Hey. This is supposed to be a celebration after all, you know. Get with it. There's a lot of new faces to the Navajo partnership here, so you know this is their first introduction to what I've been selling to them for the last couple of years. So if that's the sum total, it'll be like, oh god, get it out here quick. Right, no, seriously. We do have a lot of new faces, which is absolutely great. And forgive me because I've been talking to people via email for such a long time that if you go, hiya Tony, and I go, hiya, and I look totally blank, aside from the fact I haven't had a drink. So it's just because I haven't connected the name. So, would you like to come in and take your seats? That's okay. It's like being in the pictures, this, isn't it? I'm just waiting for the rustly popcorn to start. And as ever, nobody wants to sit in the front. We'll make the chief constable sit there. In fact, no, we'll make the lot from MSB sit there. And that should be a full house. Right, okay. So, I put the programme up on the screen there so you can all see the way things are set to go. We have, good afternoon, please do come in. Have a seat in the front.
Sorry about
It wasn't deliberate, honestly, man. It was just one of them things. You've missed all the seats at the back. Yeah, so please come in. Don't be shy. Better to fill the seats. Because you can't creep into a place like this no matter how hard you try. So yeah, we got some two great speakers for you this afternoon. The reason that we don't have our customary 3 speakers is simply because with not having an awards event last year, we've got that many certificates to give out, and also because of the volume of new applications that we had, that we simply had to make some cuts somewhere. So I hope and I'm sure you'll agree, that the two speakers that we've got are really going to take us sort of across, I think, the journey of one of the concerns that I and colleagues have got, and that's about the experiences of young LGBTIQA people in today's society, especially young trans and non-binary people, with everything that's happening in the media. Please come in, it's okay, come and take a seat. There's some at the front, there's a nice little collection, all under the big spotlight. That's better. It's not nice to talk to empty seats. We'll say absolutely nothing at the fact of you being 35 minutes late. I'm only joking. Better late than never. So yeah, as I was saying, we've got some real serious issues, and I'm sure that many of you are aware of some of the horrendous incidents that there's been in recent times within Liverpool city centre. It's okay. It's all right. We had a hate crime conference under Navajo. It's the largest one that had ever been done in terms of trans and homophobic hate crime in 2015. And it was an all-day event, and we had lots of workshops. We had a panel of invited guests at the end. There was the Chief Constable, as was then, and the Chief Prosecutor of Crown Prosecution Services, leaders of local authorities, and it was a very comprehensive panel of guest speakers. And please come in, please come and take a seat. You're going to have a little look around. There's some seats there, a couple in the middle, a couple over there. It's all right. Yeah. So the essence at the end of the day was that all of those organisations that were represented almost made a promise. I say almost because the only thing we didn't do was actually get them to sign on a piece of paper, because you take people at the word. And all of those organisations pledged that they would work with the communities across Merseyside and Cheshire, because as I say, it was a Navajo conference, that we would all work together to try to increase reporting of hate crime, because that's always been a central part to what Navajo is all about. And just that we would carry on working as one united front, if you like. I think some of that message has been lost, particularly with the CPS. And forgive me, those of you who know me know that I don't mince words. It's been a huge disappointment to me that Merseyside Crown Prosecution Service, it's now 5 years since they didn't take their Navajo reassessment, and I feel that we've lost that connection there, although we do still have the Jane Rodden Memorial Award. But I think, and I'm not laying the fault at one organisation, what I'm saying is, my message is that I think we, all of us, need to come back together and refocus our efforts on what we are going to do to try, raise awareness and eradicate, see, it's big words, I can't say them, eradicate this absolutely horrendous disease, because that's what I think it is, of hate crime that is targeted against sections of a community simply because of who they are. Yeah? I know other members in terms of race, disability, I know other groups are affected equally, but for me, sitting here as a trans man, I've been subjected to homophobic hate crime. That started in my infant school of all places, and it's happened throughout the majority of my life. The one thing I've never suffered from is transphobic hate crime. I think this has a lot to do with it, because we do go by appearances. But I have suffered homophobic hate crime, and the scars that it's left in me, I wouldn't want to wish scars like that for anyone else. So that's enough from me, just to give you the context of our theme. What I'd like to do now is to introduce our first speaker. I would like you to give a real Scouse welcome, even if you're from St Helens. Today, you're a Scouser. So can you put your hands together and welcome our first speaker? Let's see if the technology works. It never normally works for me. Is Dr. Helen Galbraith, Vice Principal. I knew it wouldn't. Never do it. Click the clicker, point at the corner and click the clicker. See, it's Tony and technology. Hey. Next one. And again. Okay, so put your hands together and please welcome Dr. Helen Galbraith.
Was going to be that thing. Tony, do I need a clicker?
Could we have Dr. Galbraith's PowerPoint presentation, please?
Shall I do a quick sound check? Can everybody hear me in the back?
Yep.
Okay, so let's just see if I can get this to work. Thank you. Fantastic. Yeah. Right, I'm hoping, even though I'm standing in front of the slides, you can still see them. It's a real privilege to be here with you today. I'm actually new to the region myself. I started working at the University of Chester as Pro-Vice Chancellor for Student Experience about 6 months ago, and I was at Staffordshire at Keele University before that. So it's been a privilege to be learning about the work that we do at the University of Chester, but also a real privilege to start getting involved in this region and to learn about all of the work you do. So thank you very much for inviting me to talk to you today, and really congratulations and well done in advance to everyone who's going to be receiving their awards. We are really proud at the University of Chester to be one of only 2 universities in our region with the Chartermark status, which we received in May 2019. I'm hoping today to cover a couple of different things. I'd really like to talk to you about some of the work that we do to support LGBTIQA students and applicants at the University of Chester, but I'm also going to touch on some of the sector challenges and some of the ways in which higher education in particular need to respond to some of the challenges that Tony has already started to talk about. So just firstly, a little bit about the University of Chester for anyone who isn't familiar with us. We are a community of about 15,000 students, including over 4,000 postgraduate students and 2,000 staff. We recruit our students from only over 130 countries, and we're proud to be one of the oldest universities in the UK for higher education, founded in 1839, initially as a teacher training college, but we now offer higher education provision across a whole range of different subject areas. We are also spread across 9 different sites, which is one of the challenges that we face. So we're based in Chester, but we're also based in Shrewsbury and Warrington and in Birkenhead. So one of the challenges that we must tackle is making sure that we're offering provision for all of our students and staff across all of those different sites. Turning to some of the images I've put on the slide here, one of the things that I want to highlight is our strategy as a university. We have a new strategy developed over the past year called the Citizen Student Strategy. And this is really about putting our students and our applicants at the heart of everything that we do, and really looking across our whole student journey to ensure that we're offering a premium, a personalised and a purposeful student experience for our students from the moment that they think about applying to us. What that means is that we really want to look at a personalised experience in terms of an inclusive experience. So we want all of our students, no matter what their background, to feel welcomed and included in the work that we do. And we also want them to have a purposeful experience, which means we want to help our students build their confidence and their social capital and their cultural capital so that they can get the best possible jobs when they graduate. So the core features of our approach at the university in terms of student support would be the types of things that I think you would all expect us to have in place. So we have specialist student services that cater for our students. That includes support for students with disabilities, wellbeing services, mental health and counselling services. One of the things I'm particularly proud of at Chester is the partnership that we have with our Chester Students' Union. I feel very passionately about having services that are developed by students for students, and that's what our Students' Union is really all about. I've highlighted on the slide here, if you can see the photos behind me, a few pictures of some of the ways in which we work in partnership with our students and our Students' Union. So one of the examples is that we have student reps across a number of different liberation groups, including an LGBTIQA representative. Our liberation group representatives are really involved in our committee structure, in our governance structure. So our LGBTQ+ representative, for example, sits on our equality forum and on our student voice and experience committee, among other things. We're also really proud of the work that we do with our Students' Union around advocacy and campaigns. So one good example is the work that the Students' Union lead, but the university supports around LGBT+ History Month. A really good example from the past year is the way in which our students have worked with our information services to look at our curriculum and our reading lists associated with some of our courses. So one example is the development of some new reading lists for LGBT+ materials. I've also been working with our students over the few months I've been at Chester around a campaign to develop our gender-neutral toilet provision on campus and to improve some of the signage around that. One of the key aspects of the work I've been doing over the last few months is our Respect campaign. So our Respect campaign is an active bystander campaign, it's an anti-hate crime campaign, it's really about advocating the behaviours and the values we expect from our students and our staff and everyone who's associated with the university. Our Respect campaign is about our signage around campus, it's the way we promote ourselves. We ask all of our students to sign up to a behaviours charter when they start with us. It's about encouraging all of our students to be active bystanders, and it's also about providing training to our staff and our students and improving our reporting mechanisms so that we have reporting mechanisms when hate crime does occur on our campuses for learning about that and for tackling that in a transparent way. So those are some of the services that we offer. Just check my slide's going to switch. Fantastic. One of the particular areas I wanted to tell you about is some of the work we've been doing around our sport and our societies provision this year. So we have an LGBTQ+ student society, but we've been looking at how we can develop and expand that so that we've got provision across all of our sites. So for example, having a society that links into that for our university centre at Shrewsbury. A really crucial element of our citizen student strategy is about improving opportunities for all of our students to engage with university life and tackling any barriers that might impede specific groups from engaging with us. So one of the examples of how we're doing that in our sport provision is that this year we've launched a new sports equality charter. That's about tackling any inequalities in our sport and societies, and you'll see from the examples there that we have charters displayed now around all of our sports provision, our sports facilities. We have Respect signage displayed around all of our sport facilities. And we've also rolled out a mandatory training programme for anybody who sits on the committee in a leadership role in our sports societies. The picture at the top middle there is a still from an animation that we've developed with our graphics team to try and develop engaging provision which our students will watch and engage with to demonstrate unacceptable behaviours and to ensure that all students are playing an active role in tackling any unacceptable behaviours where they do occur. We also have a dedicated anonymous reporting system for any incidents that do occur within our sport provision so that we can pick that up and tackle it straight away. The thing I'm particularly passionate about in this space is a whole community approach. So I want to finish off with the Chester work by telling you about some of the fantastic work that our staff and students have done to work with the community in Chester to develop our provision. So there are a number of examples here of the photos, in the photos I've got here, but I really believe that the most powerful impact from everything we do at Chester comes from all areas playing their part. That's our staff, our students, all of our services, not just our student services, all of our sites, our estates, our facilities, and also our community organisations that we work with. And it's only by working collaboratively and everybody playing their part that we can make the most powerful impact. A fantastic example of this is the work between the university and Chester Pride. So in 2022, Chester Pride will celebrate its 10th year, and the university's been involved in that work from the outset. For example, by sponsoring events, providing physical space, volunteering opportunities for students, and obviously by actively participating in the stalls and in the annual Chester Pride Parade, which has been digital this year, of course, because of COVID, but we're really looking forward to it being physical again next year. As a charity, Cheshire Pride has also supported the university in lots of other ways. For example, in engaging in our Diversity Festival, which is a real jewel in the university's crown. It's now in its 16th year. It was run online this year, and members from across the university and in the wider community can engage with a really wide range of events. Cheshire Pride has also contributed to our careers events for students. So a really good example is some talking heads and some group sessions that we've run for students focused on diversity and inclusion in the workplace, with members of our LGBT plus staff team, and also with members of Cheshire Pride involved as well. And Cheshire Pride's also been fantastic in supporting our students with events for LGBT plus History Month. The image in the centre there is some members of our LGBT plus staff group, and I'd really like to pay tribute to them, not just for the wider work they do, but also most of the notes that are in front of me as material that they've really helpfully provided for me in preparing for today. And the image there is of the Proud at Work initiative that those staff have been working on with local businesses and with Cheshire Pride over the past few months, which we are hoping to launch soon. The image on the top right there is just the image of the rainbow flag flying at one of our campuses during LGBT plus History Month. And the really point I want to emphasise there is the importance of place and visible signs of inclusion for our students and for our applicants and staff. So flying the flag, obviously important, but we also look at things like rainbow lanyards, like posters, postcards for our new staff and our new students as examples. So I'd now like to turn to talk a little bit about some of the challenges at sector level. And I'd like to turn to a report which some of you may already have picked up that was launched this month, sponsored by, produced jointly by UCAS and by Stonewall. So this report was published this month. It's called Next Steps, What is the Experience of LGBT plus Students in Education? If you haven't read it, I'm sure we can share the link with you. It's a fantastic landmark report with some really good ideas in there. The report draws on UCAS application data for over 40,000 LGBT plus students who identified as LGBT plus on their application form, plus a survey which drew around 3,000 of those applicants asking for more detailed questions. So there's a lot of really rich information in there and some recommendations which are particularly relevant for higher education, but also I think for schools and college settings as well. So some of the key findings from that report were, firstly, in terms of numbers of students identifying as LGBT plus and transgender. There has been a 450% increase in the numbers of UCAS applicants declaring a mental health condition over the last decade. There's also been a very significant increase in the numbers of students declaring that they're LGBT plus or that they're from a trans identity. And one of the really key points to draw from both of those is that students are more open than they were a decade ago in being open about their identities and the challenges that they face. We have a lot more work to do as a sector to ensure that, but it is great to see that students are more confident in being open about their identities and their mental health. So across the UCAS applicants that were looked at, 1 in 13 applicants identified as LGBT+, and 1 in 250 identified with a trans identity. The students in the survey, the 3,000 students who completed the survey, were asked how open they had been about their identity in school or college, and how open they were planning to be about their identity when they entered university. Now, it's great to see that 82% of applicants felt that they were going to be open about their identity when they joined university, but that means a lot of students are not currently planning to be open about their identity. And when they were asked about the reasons for that, the key reasons that were cited were bullying, homophobia, transphobia and other forms of hate crime, and a worry about what other people might think, or that they might not belong, or they might not be comfortable. So that indicates the type of challenge that we face as universities to ensure that all of our students feel confident about declaring their identities and seeking support. The students in the survey, the applicants, were also asked about their experience at school or college and whether they'd had a positive experience overall. And again, it's great to see that 88% of applicants at school or college said they'd had a positive experience. But that means, again, that 12% of students said they'd had a negative experience, with, again, bullying being cited as the main reason for that, or a sense that those applicants feel that they don't belong. The other key point from the survey in terms of the survey and the data around this report is the intersections between LGBT+ identities and other characteristics, particularly mental health, but also other disabilities and other forms of disadvantage. So according to that UCAS report, LGBT+ applicants are more likely to declare a disability, with 30% of students from LGBT+ groups as opposed to 12% of all students. LGBT+ applicants were also more likely to declare a mental health condition, 13% of that group compared to only 2.9% of that wider group. And it's important to note within that while 13% overall of LGBT+ students declared a mental health condition, that rises to 22% amongst trans students. And as I mentioned, over the last decade, there has been a huge increase in the numbers of UCAS applicants across the board declaring a mental health condition. So mental health in all its forms is something that we really need to be tackling as a university. The next slide. Yes, right. Okay, so in terms of my last slide, I just want to run through what I see as some of the key areas for action for me, for the University of Chester, and for the wider sector as well. The image on the left is taken from that UCAS Stonewall report, and it's a word cloud that shows you the most common keywords in the free text responses to the question, as a member of the LGBT+ community, how could your journey to higher education be improved? And as you'll see, there are some key words there that I think would resonate with all of us. Support, community, information, education, identity. So drawing on that UCAS Stonewall report, but also our experiences at the University of Chester and some of the other feedback that I've had, these are the key areas where I think that we need to be taking further action. Firstly, we need to be improving the quality of the data that we have. We need to ensure within our demographic data that all students see identities that are meaningful to them, and they need to be confident in sharing that sensitive information with us, and they need to know that we're going to do positive things with it that will help their student experience. And then we need to utilise that data to inform the support we provide. We need that support to be tailored and relevant to individual students. And we need to recognise, as I said before, the intersections between those LGBT+ identities and other vulnerabilities that students might face, such as mental health and other forms of disability. We also need to be signposting to our local LGBT+ services in the community. One of the key elements from that UCAS Stonewall report is that students really select their university based on the city or the area that they're in and some of the other services that are offered. So the more that we can demonstrate local services, local provision, local community groups as a university, the more we will make those students from LGBT+ backgrounds confident in coming to study with us. The next area is around the role of the Students' Union, or for schools, colleges, it's about student representative structures across the board. We know from research that societies and activities, sports, are really crucial to a student's sense of belonging. And that sense of belonging is what creates students wanting to carry on with us, and it improves retention and it improves the student's experience. So we need our student representative structure to be truly inclusive. We need to ensure that we've got representatives from a full diversity of liberation groups, and we need to ensure that those students feel confident to share their feedback and that they see evidence of how that feedback is acted upon. We also need to ensure that our policies, our practices and our curricula are as inclusive as possible. That bullet point underplays the magnitude of that task. Over the past few months, I've been working with my teams to look at our policies and our practices to make sure that they are inclusive in their language, to improve the plain English nature of our policies across the board so that students can read and understand them. But we have much further that we need to go. We need to be ensuring that our practices are not just inclusive, but that they are visibly tackling hate crime where that exists. That needs to include the way that we respond to complaints and anonymous reporting channels as well. And in terms of our curricula, we need to be ensuring that our curricula are inclusive in a multitude of different ways. And the best way to do that is through the student voice and engagement from our students to get their feedback and again, to act upon it. We need to be working on our training and awareness amongst our staff and again amongst our students, particularly our student representatives. At the moment, we are improving and rolling out a new mandatory training offer, which will include safeguarding, updated safeguarding training, active bystander training, and also other forms of equality and diversity and inclusion training. And we need to be ensuring that our staff and students are active bystanders in terms of tackling hate crime. And the point I really want to end on is kind of where I started, which is around staff-student partnership and that whole community approach. Our staff and our students are fantastic at working together, and the more that we can encourage that, the more that our students see role models amongst our staff, and the more they feel included from the very outset of their experience with us, the stronger the experience that we're going to have. And we need to ensure a constant dialogue between our staff and our students and our wider community. I know we haven't got everything right yet. I know we have a lot more that we want to do. So the more we get that dialogue right, the more impactful the services that we will provide, and the more included our students will feel from the outset of their experience with us. Okay, that's everything I've got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Galbraith. Okie dokie. The infamous clip. Right. Oh. My job's here at X for me. I think you already had a sneak peek of our next game. There we go. Right, it gives me great pleasure to introduce, so again, another big round of applause please for our new Chief Constable, Serena Kennedy.
Afternoon everybody, so I arrived slightly late but then arrived slightly early for my speech, so a good start. I'd really like to thank Navajo for inviting me here to the Chartermark Annual Awards today. I'm really proud to stand in front of you all today. I've been an LGBTIQ+ ally for many years, so it truly is a privilege to be here today as part of the community and support that Navajo bring. I'd like to thank Helen. Your speech has given us a lot to consider, I think, when thinking about the challenges faced by the LGBT+ community in education. And it was really interesting because we would anticipate that a university community would be more tolerant maybe than we think about our wider society, and yet there's still those challenges and fears and not able to be themselves. And actually listening to the demographics and some of the figures there, very similar to what we face in policing. So, a little bit about myself. You can see behind me, I'm Serena Kennedy. I'm the new Chief Constable. I took up post in April of this year. So I've worked in policing now for 28 years. I started my career in 1993 over in Greater Manchester. Luckily, I'm not a United or a City fan, so I was allowed passage to Merseyside. I'm immensely proud to serve the communities of Merseyside. I've been with Merseyside now 4.5 years, previously as the Deputy Chief Constable, and when I joined as the Assistant Chief Constable responsible for investigations and intelligence. I think it would be remiss of me not to mention what an incredibly challenging week that this has been for policing and for the family of Sarah Everard and those that loved her. Really impacted on the trust and confidence of our communities, the confidence that they have in us. Just like in recent months, it's really impacted the trust and confidence that the LGBTIQA community have had here in Merseyside, particularly in Liverpool, in relation to hate crime. Merseyside Police have worked for many years with the Navajo in Trust, and each year we look forward to attending these annual awards, and it's nice to see some plants in the audience of friendly faces of my staff. I hope you've had an opportunity, unlike me, to meet some of my team in the Market Hall prior to this event. And for the last 18 months, as you know, events like this haven't been possible. You probably know that because you got checked when you came in for your COVID test, and some of you are sat with masks on, and we certainly all came in with our masks. And I know from speaking to colleagues, friends from our LGBT network, the lack of opportunity to be around like-minded people and to be in their spaces has hugely impacted on their well-being. So it's really nice to be here today. So we were successful in 2013 in gaining the Navajo Chartermark, and we're immensely proud to have kept this ever since. And I do hope we manage to retain it next year after our reassessment. It's great to see that there's many new organisations who have also managed to secure that charter mark because of the message it sends both to our communities but also internally to those workforces. So I want to talk to you this afternoon about the importance of the work that organisations need to undertake, supported by Navajo and other equality community networks, to positively engage, address and influence societal understanding of the issues faced by the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender community. Like I say to my teams very often, I may be the Chief Constable, but I will have had really different life experiences to each of you, just like each of you have had different life experiences to one another. But collectively, working as a collaboration with a common goal, in this case, we all have the common goal of equality. We can all learn from each other. In referencing our collective ambition for equality, I would like to take a moment to pay tribute to a person who was passionate and compassionate in campaigning and supporting for equality. I would like to pay tribute to Imogen Christie, who sadly passed away in July. Imogen was part of our Merseyside Police's Transgender Advisory Group and has been since its inception in 2017. Imogen was somebody who always wanted to improve things, always sought solutions, was always a willing listener, ally, advocate, and provided challenge to Merseyside Police. She was balanced in her views and wanted to simply enhance the force's knowledge and the service that Merseyside Police provides to trans and non-binary people and the wider LGBTQ+ community to continually improve. And we are absolutely the richer for the wisdom that she gave us. Merseyside Police will continue to take forward the valuable lessons that Imogen taught us, and I pledge in her memory that Merseyside Police will continue to work alongside our partner agencies to ensure inclusion is at the heart of everything we do. In fact, only this week we launched the use of pronouns on our email footers, and we remain committed to working with our estates around accessible toilet facilities. Imogen, I'm sure, will be proud of these key moments in our history, and she was an instrumental part of consultation on these pieces of work. Imogen, we know, was well loved by many across Liverpool, and her loss is felt by many, especially those in our LGBT+ community. Imogen is greatly missed. If I may now, I will give you a little insight into the history of Navajo Partnership. The Navajo Merseyside Consultative Partnership was formed in 2010 with over 60 cross-sector partners now intending to achieve Chartermark standards. Initially, Navajo was localised to Merseyside. However, given the fantastic work that it was undertaking, we soon expanded to incorporate Cheshire, the Cheshire region, into 2012. And on the 17th of May 2012, the first ever award ceremony was held here in Liverpool to celebrate the achievements of those initial first organisations to gain the Chartermark. And it's a testament to the work of the Navajo team that over 30 organisations now from Merseyside and Cheshire have successfully secured and maintained this invaluable status. This is not about an organisation having the Navajo kite mark. This is about organisations ensuring they fulfil and maintain the standards required to hold that kite mark. Those standards support organisations in all that they are doing to ensure that they make sure that their organisation is continually striving to improve equality for the LGBT+ community. But more importantly to me, this charter mark should reassure the LGBTIQ+ community that these organisations are absolutely at the forefront of progressing equality for all. I genuinely wish we didn't live in a world where these standards were required, that we lived in a world where equality was a given. But sadly, we know we are not there yet across many of our protected characteristics. The position is improving, the world is improving, but there is a long way to go. And organisations engaging with Navajo are clearly on the right track. The success of the Navajo team has been possible due to the hard work of the entire team, but I'd particularly like to thank the chair of the partnership, Tony Griffin. Tony's decided to hand over responsibility of the chair this year to Andy Herring, but Tony, thank you for everything, not only from Merseyside Police, but from the entire LGBTQ+ community of Merseyside and Cheshire, for all the work that you've done and continue to do and hold so dear in your heart. You've worked with us, you've marched with us, and your counsel is welcome. So thank you. Some of you may know that Andy is the Chief Executive Officer of Liverpool City Region Pride Foundation, and I look forward to working with Andy over the next 12 months and enjoying that continuing partnership. I just want to now touch on the work that's been undertaken by Merseyside Police to support not only our workforce, but also the communities of Merseyside, which after the summer we've had in relation to hate crime is so important. As Chief Constable, as a police officer, I am part of a police family. Our family includes police officers, PCSOs, police staff, specials, volunteers, our very famous mini police. We all work together to look after each other, to work towards our goal of having a two-way conversation with the public, putting communities first, keeping them safe and making them feel safe and confident. One of the earliest policing principles which still stands true to this day is that of Sir Robert Peel, who said the police are the public and the public are the police. The police being only the members of the public who are paid to give full-time attention to duties which are incumbent on every citizen in the interest of community welfare and existence. That principle is one that I strongly believe on. It's incumbent on me to make sure the workforce of Merseyside Police reflects the diverse communities who we are grateful to serve. We are always trying to encourage more young people and people from diverse backgrounds to enjoy our policing family. I mentioned the two-way conversation between the public and the police, and this implies just as much externally as it does internally. Hopefully the team will know and can verify that I am passionate to hear the voice of each member of our workforce, as well as the voice of our public. This means we can learn from each other and each individual and hear their lived experience to shape not only how Merseyside Police continually improve and evolve, but also how society can do the same to continue to ensure that we maintain the trust and confidence of our community. Everyone within Merseyside Police joins the organisation generally for one common purpose, and that is to help. It's to help people and support people in the time of need, often their greatest need. Everyone within Merseyside Police absolutely cares about the same issues and supports each other, whether the cause directly affects you or not. You are part of this chosen family, and it's a unique and special thing. We are trying to make the policing family as inclusive as we can be, and we have various internal networks. So we have a network, a focus on race and ethnicity network, Parity 21, our women's network, the disability network, various faith networks, and of course our LGBTIQA network. While I reference the internal networks, these networks also work closely with communities to ensure that they can provide a wider perspective on issues affecting our workforce and our communities. This year marks our 20-year anniversary of our LGBTQ+ network. And looking back from some of the photos of those early prides, it's great that our network has grown and is flourishing in the way in which it is. But it was a real milestone opportunity to reflect how the network has supported not only the workforce, but has challenged us, quite rightly, to ensure that Merseyside Police continues to evolve as the inclusive organisation I want it to be. I'm always struck by the desire and drive of the LGBTQ+ network to enhance our workplaces and their commitment to making the communities of Merseyside safer. This has been hugely assisted over the years with the strength of the partnership working we have within Merseyside. And our network ensure I am included in current issues. I am alive to the world through their lens, and that as an ally, I welcome that voice. I know the last 18 months has really impacted on some of them, and I know that our network and our communities have resorted to virtual socials, but actually managed to get out and about and enjoyed a real Pride event over in Manchester. Pride is a hugely important event, and I look forward to leading my first Pride as Chief Constable here in Liverpool next year. I am committed, as I've said, to improving the diversity of the workforce, but I want to create a culture where everyone feels that they can bring their whole selves to work, and they feel that they can be themselves without fear or trepidation. I want everyone to feel fully included and valued within the organisation. I want people to be the unique individuals that they are and to enrich each other. For me, inclusion is even more critical and has been brought into sharper focus because of COVID. It's been so difficult during that pandemic. And some of my staff certainly will know that those people who have protected characteristics have found it even more difficult during COVID. An absence of fellowship through not being able to visit places of support. The inability to physically meet up with friendship groups, and our friends are such a great source of support and solace. The inability to attend places where you can meet like-minded people. Being unable to come together to celebrate key dates of significance or celebration, such as Pride, or even being able to network in person. Helen mentioned it in her speech, just how important that sense of belonging and inclusion is. And during COVID, that's been so much harder. I've referenced LCR Pride already. Pride Liverpool is certainly a celebration of equality, and it's been such a shame that we've not been able to take place in Pride in the usual format. I took place in Pride as Deputy Chief Constable, and as I said, I really look forward to leading Merseyside Police next year at Pride. Many of you will know that Liverpool Pride was formed following the murder of Michael Causa in July 2008. Michael's murder was investigated by police as a homophobic hate crime 13 years ago. He was just 18 at the time of his death. And following Michael's murder, the police engaged closely with communities to share information, dispel myths, and to reiterate our commitment to finding Michael's killers. I believe that Michael's death and our community's response to it shaped the way in which we work with partners, communities and allies. Many of our relationships formed in the days, weeks and years which followed Michael's murder remain just as strong today. The city has changed greatly since 2008 and we now have a pedestrianised Pride Quarter in the city centre, our annual Pride Festival and many partners that support the LGBTIQA+ events such as Ida Hobbit and Homotopia, Trans Day of Remembrance and Trans Day of Visibility, to name but a few across Merseyside. We always fly off our rainbow flag and trans flag in solidarity with you all. Hate crime, as I've touched on several times already, however, is unfortunately still as prevalent in our society today. And I've mentioned the recent hate-related incidents and crimes that we've had against the LGBTIQA+ community, who were targeted simply for being themselves. I, like probably yourselves, was really saddened that Liverpool was being highlighted in such a negative way, that those events and incidents and crimes were happening right here in our city, which we are all so proud of, and it's always had a reputation for being inclusive. You know only too well the impact that incidents like that have, and Tony spoke about in his opening, have on people's lives, and the subsequent fear and the impact that has on people for many, many years. As part of our ongoing commitment to our LGBTIQ+ community, we continue to hold multi-agency meetings with key partners, including the Michael Causer Foundation, Liverpool City Pride and Citizens Advice, to ensure that we have a really joined up approach toward the fight to eradicate hate crime in all its facets. And whilst these recent incidents have been disturbing and should never have occurred, I was immensely proud to see how quickly the city responded. Not only how quickly key agencies and groups came together to offer reassurance, but also how quickly our LGBT+ community and allies came together so quickly and so harmoniously to demonstrate a united front that this behaviour will not be tolerated in our city. You may have seen or in fact been part of the peaceful march, which showed a clear symbol of solidarity to those victimised and demonstrating that broader message to the wider community that these incidents are simply unacceptable and will not be tolerated. And what was fantastic is that march and those events were motivated and prompted by our youth, which inspires me and should all inspire us that hate will never win. I want to assure you that we will continue to do everything we can to bring offenders to justice. And we've stepped up our operational resources in the city centre at the hotspot locations to make sure that people have confidence and can feel safe about being themselves. In addition, and as a result of the meetings we've had with key partners, several activities and commitments were agreed from both an immediate and a longer term perspective, which I will just go through because I think it's really important that people know what we are trying to do as Merseyside, as that wider partnership. So we are committed in ensuring there's a coordinated multi-agent response to the Safe Space campaign, including safer transport links. Developing diversity allies in the city centre and capable guardians such as street angels, guardians and pastors. Reinforcing and increasing the taxi marshalling. Adopting a preventative approach via the city centre joint agency group in relation to the general concerns of antisocial behaviour in the city centre, which can often escalate into hate crime. Ensuring that victims are further supported and gaining an understanding of the lack of engagement within the force through our hate crime coordinators and the Citizens Advice Bureau. Linking interventions and support available to victims from the Merseyside Violence Reduction Partnership under the wider hate crime and serious violence agenda. Publicising investigative and evidential opportunities, including the extensive CCTV coverage in the city, and ensuring that images of people potentially involved are shared widely amongst our communities to try and identify those offenders. Continuing our work with Stop Hate UK to raise awareness of third-party reporting and victim self-referring accepting that reporting to the police can just be too much for somebody, and at that time it's not right for them. So really important that we have those third-party reporting mechanisms. And scoping a piece of work led by the Liverpool City region to gain a better understanding and the evidence base for this issue. We need to fully understand the root cause of any incident and continue to work in partnership to eradicate hate crime. Another of Sir Robert Peel's principles of policing is that of prevention. Merseyside Police, our partners and our community must play a proactive part in preventing these incidents from occurring, intervening where we can and striving for that shared goal I've talked of equality. As I said, our city region has a well-deserved reputation for being an inclusive and welcoming place and one of the safest cities, but I know for some of our communities it doesn't feel like that at the moment. But we are committed to not only challenging but raising awareness of hate crime to ensure that we remain one of the safest places. It's vital that we all work in partnership, have a clear joint statement of intent towards this to enforce that we will not tolerate any form of hate crime. I am committed to ensuring that Liverpool City Centre and Merseyside remains a safe space for all who work here, live here and come to have fun here. The theme for Pride this year was From Now On, which calls on individuals, businesses, organisations and allies to enact change from now on. And as Chief Constable, I have very clear priorities to protect the vulnerable and ensure that we develop a culture that values diversity and inclusion. As part of Pride and as an ally, I was asked to make a pledge to support the LGBTIQ+ community from now on. And my pledge was threefold. I will continue to make Merseyside Police an employer of choice, ensuring that we are able to demonstrate that we are a supportive and welcoming and accepting place to work in. I will continue to celebrate and recognise pride and the diversity of our colleagues and communities. I will support an LGBTIQ+ inclusive education in force to raise awareness of the gender spectrum and encourage open and honest conversation to support our staff and communities. Together, we will continue to make strides to become a police force that reflects the communities that we serve and to promote diversity and equality and acceptance in our communities. We will work with our partners and our LGBTQ+ communities to ensure that our city remains a safe space for all, so that everyone can feel free to be themselves, regardless of sexual orientation and/or their gender identity. We will not let fear and discrimination become the norm. This year, I attended the Michael Causer Foundation Daisy Planting event at St Nicholas's Church. I'm quite envious because those I planted at home failed to grow, which is a symbolic service to support the eradication of hate crime. I also attended the Michael Causer Vigil in August, where I reaffirmed that I am personally committed to ensuring we get our approach and our response to hate crime right. That we will listen and learn and develop on the occasions when we get it wrong. Our support to the LGBTQ+ community remains consistent, visible and unwavering. We will ensure that we have a presence in our city centre and town centres to deter those that are intent on causing harm, and we'll continue to work with our diverse communities, partners and allies to bring offenders to justice, protect victims and keep people safe. This year's Navajo theme is children and young people, with a focus upon LGBTIQA community and the increasing barriers that they are facing in everyday lives. So far, I have spoken mainly about the internal aspect of inclusion, which has been influenced by local history here in Merseyside. However, inclusion is far-reaching. The communities of Merseyside must trust Merseyside Police, and should individuals encounter us, they must have the confidence that we will treat them fairly. There is a famous forensics and science analogy that every contact leaves a trace, and this applies to every contact that my staff have with our community in whatever capacity that may be. But the key bit is working and supporting communities, listening and hearing the issues within communities, and then working with them to solve these problems. Over recent years, we have set up a Stop Search public scrutiny panel made up of members of our community who wish to support and challenge us to learn from our working practices. They offer critique and help us instigate real change, which is vital for Merseyside Police to evolve and maintain trust and confidence of our communities. Once our communities start to trust us, we can start to develop informal relationships with them and encourage them to work with us. The Transgender Community Advisory Group, which Imogen was an invaluable part of, is a great example of those informal relationships which are so important to us. I want to continue to expand these advisory groups and public scrutiny forums over years. I want us to be open and transparent with our communities. I want to welcome the communities in to ask those questions, to have a look at the way in which we work. We want individuals from our diverse communities to be our critical friends. Let us know when we get it wrong and let us know how we can improve. To support us to engage with communities, but also to let us know when we get it right. How we respond to hate crime is absolutely key to gaining trust and confidence of our workforce and our communities. It's really important that internally, that where our officers are subject of hate crime, that they feel that that's being treated seriously. Because how can I expect our officers and staff to go out there and investigate hate crime when it happens to themselves internally, they don't feel they're being treated fairly? So I am committed to ensuring that we deal with hate crime both internally and externally, both professionally and properly. And there have been incidents, unfortunately, recently where my officers and staff have breached professional standards and behaviour that I expect for them. And I remain absolutely committed to ensure that Merseyside Police takes all action possible against these individuals to ensure that we can be that inclusive workforce. And whilst this could be seen as a token of symbolism, I reaffirm to you that I am personally committed to ensuring that we get our approach right, that we listen, learn and develop on the occasions we get it wrong. I wish to conclude this afternoon by informing many people feel that because they are not part of the LGBT+ community, that they don't need to be part of the conversation around those communities. But that, for me, could not be further from the truth. What I am demanding from my workforce is that we need to be more active. We must all be allies and play our part to uplift every member of the LGBTIQ+ community and challenge those who are discriminatory. None of us can be passive on inclusion. We need to continue to have open, honest conversations and challenge. We need to explain the why to those who genuinely don't understand, so that we can move forward and become more diverse to support our colleagues and our local communities. No one should hide who they are or what they want to be. Everybody should be uniquely you, always. I will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with our LGBTQ+ colleagues, partners and local community members, and I do hope you will all do the same. This is what makes our community unique and united. As I've already said, the police do not get everything right. Nobody does. But we need to have that conversation, to be honest, to make apologies where necessary, to learn from our mistakes and move forward together to make things better for all of us. A confident workforce in Merseyside Police where everyone, including our LGBTQ+ staff, feels safe and comfortable to be themselves and to talk about tricky issues will undoubtedly lead to an improvement in how we work and deal with all sectors of our external communities. We are on a long journey, but I am absolutely believe we're on the right road and we are getting the right guidance and the direction along the way. So thank you for working with us and helping us. I welcome invitations to events like this, as the exposure to your thoughts, opinions, views, I'm sure will and must influence my approach. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Chief Constable. Excuse me, I've got a little frog in my throat. Well, I hope it's a frog. Anyway, right. Yes, it's also told me. Saving technology just don't get on. Put it on with the paper clip, the chip. So there we go. Right. Okay, hope you can hear my dulcet Scouse tones. I think that was amazing from both our guest speakers, so can we have another round of applause? I think there's so much that we can all do, and I think both of our speakers have exemplified what it is that we can do when we work together. And I think I'm going to rob the Chief Constable's little snippet there of unique and united. I think that's brilliant, and I think it kind of sums up just everything that is so special about everybody here within this room, and of course within the wider environment outside. So, moving on, before our little break, we've got an example. Wrong place. It's just me, isn't it? Oh, I give up. See why I'm packing it in after 10 years? It's the technology that's done for me. Nothing else. Right. This is an award, our first award. And can I ask if Jen, my dear colleague and friend for many, many years, can come down the stairs. What have I done with that gadget? Oh God, I've got a head like a sieve. It is my hand. Right, we've got the award that was set up in memory of a dear colleague, sadly missed, Jane Rodden, who died a number of years ago now. Her work still lives on, and as I said at the beginning of my introduction, I really want to see that relationship re-established, and I think if Jane is here, that would be the case. So there's a little message for you to take back, my dear. Right, anyway. So, this person was nominated for all the wonderful work that they do. See, I don't give gender pronouns here, so there's no giving anything away in that sense. And when I read the nomination for all of the nominees, it came as no shock. Comes a bigger shock if this thing works. There we go. Our first nominee is another friend and colleague, Katrina Rigbanovia, who I'm sure many of you know. Can we have a round of applause for our first nominee? Our second nominee is Kath Charters. Kath, your name won't follow you, and I don't know why. Oh dear, the battery fell out. Has it done it? Right, okay. And we all know Kath. I don't think Kath needs any introduction in that sense. Katrina, I should have said, has been our lead assessor with Navajo right from the day that it started. And even before it started, because we sat next to each other working at Sefton Equalities Partnership for a number of years, and Katrina listening to me saying to people, yeah, it'll work, and they would all go, no it won't. But anyway, we'll get on to that one. Our next nominee, unfortunately we don't have a picture, but I'm sure many of you will recognise the name. Lynn Matthews, who worked for many, many years with the wonderful people at Armistead, and did lots of great work with them. And our last, but by no means least, nominee is Ayla Horton Foster, who is a student support officer with Hubert College, and especially works with LGBTIQA young people. So they were our 4 nominees that came through, and as I say, reading the little biographies that have been sent through, and knowing 2 out of the 4 better than the others. I thought this is going to be a real tough one, and it was for the judges. However, we do have a winner, yeah? So I'd really like you to put your hands together and welcome. If you want to say a few words.
Wow. I hope everyone can hear me. I have quite a loud voice, it carries. I honestly don't know what to say, because looking sort of, well, now that it's that picture of me, which is a terrible photo and I hate it. But looking at sort of the people, those other people who've been nominated, I think it's that there are so many wonderful people who are doing so many wonderful things for the LGBT community in general. And I think the very fact that we're all here in this room is a really important thing, and really shows just the diversity of people who are working for making things better for others, for improving the situation, for having a world in which people can live and be who they need to be. And I was really inspired by both of our speakers just now about what they were saying about the work that's going on both in university settings and education settings, because of my background, but then also within the police force and within the sort of the wider community of organisations that are working for LGBT people. So I'm honoured, and I think I know who's the main nominee is, and I thank her for that. And yeah, I'm speechless. I also think it's worth just mentioning, she's already been mentioned today, but I think with Imogen Christie and the impact she's had, I think all of the people on the board, all the people in this room today, I think have an ability to do her proud. And I think as a community, as allies, as friends, we can do what we need to do to make things how they should be. So there we go. Thank you.
Okie dokie folks, right, we're a little bit early, but I'm sure everyone won't mind that. Time for a cup of tea, coffee, whatever's your pleasure. I believe you've got to wear your masks out there in the communal areas. You're fine here, but out there, so if you can remember to put your masks on. But we'll see you back in 10-15 minutes time. And don't let me have to send Julie to come and get you. Rounds all up.
Now then, all right? Any place out? You can't know me?
Yeah, so whether you're or not,
You can
we go along, you know. If after 10 years you don't know that, you never will. Right, okay, so, while I'm just going to take one little sip of my tea, if that's okay. Okie dokie. So, we've had our 10-minute interval, which I hope you've all enjoyed. And it's time to move on to our next award. And so, I'm just trying to get myself a space so that I don't knock over all them certificates on my wife will divorce me. She truly will. Okay. So it's time for our Navajo Next Generation Award that we started 3 years ago now, it would be. And as it says up there, this is to recognise young people who have already begun to make a change across the communities. And so I'm going to ask, first of all, if I can be joined by the sponsor of the award. That would be really helpful. Okay, so if you can welcome my colleague, Hugh from Bernardo's, that'd be great. Thank you. Okie dokie. So, and it is quite heavy, isn't it? It's a beautiful award, it really is. So, I'll introduce you. I'm just not getting it with this. I'm like, there you go. So our two nominees are Oliver James, who I'm sure some of you, many of you, all of you, will have begun to read Oliver's work that he's doing, especially for LGBTIQA, with Liverpool Echo, which in my books is about time the Liverpool Echo got involved with the positive side of what goes on within the communities, and Oliver does many things as well, but that's predominantly, I think, what folk will know him for. And the next nominee is Alexander Salary. Alex is a university student. I think my microphone's a little bit crackly or rustly, and is studying to be let me get this right, I'm going to make a mess of this. Psychologist, Alex, yeah, thank you very much. And he has started to assess with the rest of the Navajo assessors, and he outstripped everybody this year by doing 8 assessments, which, believe me, when they are full and sometimes 2-day assessments, really do take it out of you. And he's also engaging with other activities as well. So we've got 2 wonderful nominees, 2 young people. I get to say young people now at my age, and I don't feel so bad anymore. So I'm not like Simon Cowell who draws it out forevermore. So I'd just like to say that the winner is got you on with that one, didn't I? Thank you. Big round of applause for the No, I'm not going to force him to speak, but if he wants to say a few words, there's a little microphone for you.
Sorry, I'm a very anxious person and didn't realise A, that I would be able to get this, or B, that I would be speaking. But I guess it's one of those things where, long story short, I had the kind of coming out experience that people stereotypically think of when they think of a coming out gone wrong. And as a result of that, I turned to Intrust, courtesy of Tony et al., who, through seeing so many trans and kind of like LGBT people thriving, gave me the strength to continue to thrive. When it came to transitional care, Sea Magic, courtesy of Tony et al., which gave me the strength to find myself and to feel comfortable in my own body. So then, when it came to this summer, with my body finally beginning to feel like my own, with those around me being able to watch them live and thrive, and knowing that I was supported by a community that was like myself, I wanted to be able to spend my time giving something back. And thankfully, around the right time, Navajo were asking for volunteers. So I spent my summer volunteering, and there was something very nice about seeing how many different people and places were doing their very best to make sure that they were inclusive, that they were helping others thrive, no matter what. And some of the stories that I heard from some of the employees was genuinely heartwarming. So yeah, more than this, I am glad that I got to take part in volunteering with Navajo, that I got to work with them, and I got to work with some of the amazing companies that were kind of going through the award process. So yeah, thank you very much.
And it's such admiration at the way Alex managed to dodge the certificates. Because if that had been me, he'd have gone everywhere. I have absolutely no doubts about that.
Sorry.
Right, okay. So, moving swiftly along, can I be joined by the sponsors of our next award, please? Give us a clue. Someone's on the ball there, isn't it? I did marry this real smart woman, you know. This lady's already been mentioned today, and I don't think there's very much I can add. Imogen and I were good friends, good colleagues. We worked together on many different things, including Sea Magic. And ironically enough, the last Navajo Awards that we had in 2019, Imogen won the Jane Rodden Memorial Award, so she was the Navajo champion for that year. So I think it's only fitting that the best way that we can commemorate her memory and her legacy, which I have no doubt will go on for many, many years, is to establish an award in her name. And my very good colleagues from Unison Liverpool have kindly supported and sponsored the award. So we decided, because it is such a very unique award and there are so many people that do good works, that rather than sort of put all the nominees up as we usually do, we're just going to go straight into the winner, if that's okay. And I already know that the individual can't be here today, absolutely devastated, but has nominated someone else to come and do a little bit of a talk in her place. So it gives me the greatest of pleasure to get this gadget to work and to let you know that the first award winner of Imogen's award is Tasha Lewis. Now, Tasha has asked, as I say, Kath Charters to come and collect the award. Just to let you know, Imogen and Tasha were good friends as well. Tasha has been the coordinator for my support group in Trust Merseyside in Cheshire for the last 3 years now. Still does amazing things in other areas, but predominantly is known for her works with Trust and also her contribution to part of the Sea Magic board of trustees and also Trans Health Merseyside, which is part of the Sea Magic framework in that sense. So can I invite Kath to come and collect the award on Tasha's behalf, please? As big round of applause.
Okay, so yes, as Tony said, Tasha asked me to speak, should she win today, and she was very excited and partly overwhelmed and kind of like, oh my God, it's Imogen's award, and you know, what a big person to follow kind of thing. But you know, Tasha is an incredible woman, trans woman, and I've known Tasha for about 2 years. Tasha would want to say how much collaborative work has meant for her and how important it's been that we were only talking the other day after Trans Health Merseyside how important it is for, I don't want to get all like smoochy, but when people bring one another into a group or help one another get to a group or just enable someone to meet with others who they maybe haven't met or feel they'll never meet, they just don't think that there's anyone who's like them. Tasha is the person who will go the extra 100 miles, that's what she's doing today actually. She's really gone out there to help someone else, so that's why she couldn't be here and asked me to speak. She is an incredible person and she's really made a big difference to, certainly THM. She's brought people in who I maybe wouldn't have connected with. She always insists that everybody, she's kind of like a little bit, Tasha can be someone who just is very keen and has a real good sense of hearing and listening and kind of understanding and seeing and really getting when someone's maybe not quite involved and maybe making that happen. Certainly in group situations I can speak to that. But I know she does so many things, so many things behind the scenes that she's the kind of unsung hero in a way. And and her, for me, because I worked with Tasha for a while in various ways, her trajectory to visibility has been incredible, and she's embraced her visibility in ways that I haven't seen anyone else do. And it's just electrifying actually how she's done that. I'm sure you might agree. And you know, star blazer in that way to us all, you know, and just has a certain social kind of consciousness and a certain way of being, like great humour, and I'm just honoured to know her, and I'm especially honoured to pick up the award for her, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, just to sort of make the point there that Imogen's family were so happy over the creation of the award, but as you can well imagine, this would be a highly emotional event for her partner Sam, and so we just simply said that's okay. Everyone will understand, but just so if you're wondering, this is done completely with the support of the family. Right, okay. Should have a big drum roll now, shouldn't we? You can see all these certificates. I went to love me secrets and surprises. I'm like a big soft kid. Right, okay. Firstly, the certificate should be presented by Councillor Anna Rothery, who unfortunately has got laryngitis, and I've known Anna for over 30 years, so if you know her like I do, that really won't come as a surprise in that sense, and I mean that with love and affection, I truly do. So we wish Anna well. But I have got one of my dearest friends and colleagues who was one of the nominees a little bit earlier on to come down and do the honours, present the certificates, and so can you welcome my colleague Katrina Igbenovia, please. Oh, this is where the technology really is needed. See if the PowerPoint works. So, first, what we do by tradition is, oh, and there's the technology gone wrong straight off, because Pippin's Corner's pipped up where it shouldn't have pipped up. It's all right, you can put it back. Ironically, Colette's not here to collect the certificates, so that's okay. Traditionally, what we do is the organisations who've successfully passed their assessment, and poor Katrina, because we forgot the tables, forgot to put the certificates up, and so the one thing that we haven't had time to do is put them in order. So you can judge for yourself. Oh, I'm in trouble, you can feel it already, can't you? You can judge Katrina's ability to quickly find amongst 16 A4 certificates.
Don't worry, Tony, I will get you back.
I know you too well. So, the first organisation that successfully, I love this, passed their assessment is MSP Solicitors. Welcome everyone to the team, please. And if you want to say a few words, you're welcome to. Just a hint, because someone on the phone said yes, we would like to see a few words.
I'd just like to say a really big thank you to Tony and Julie. They came into my office about 6 years ago and have really been influential in educating me, taking me on a journey. And I just think Tony's given so much to organisations but also to individuals. So I'd just like to say thank you to both of you. Thank you.
So just to remind you, those that said on the phone, yes, we'd like to say a few words. There's the microphone. Okay, so our next recipient is, on your marks, Katrina. QPC, Quality Protects Children. Brilliant.
Thank you. Tony Nolan, who's the director of the organisation, who's been part of Navajo for maybe 7 years or so, couldn't make it today, so I'm here in this side. We've got Alec and Jordan, who are part of our community. So as I said, we've been around for about 7 years with Navajo and looking around today. It's amazing how far QPC and Navajo have come in terms of our commitments to LGBTIQA, rights and visibility. The last 2 years have been a real struggle for many communities in terms of our COVID and lockdown, but now we're allowed out, it brings new meaning to the term out and proud. During all this time, we've been able to consolidate and improve our commitment to recruit trans staff within our organisation, and we've been successful in recruiting 4 members of the community to our team. The sad news, as some of you may know, is that we have mourned the sad passing of our friend and colleague Charlene O'Neill, who was described within the local press as one of the godmothers of the trans community. This was a major blow to QPC and our young people, and we can honestly say that Charlene was on course to being one of the first trans managers in our sector. But in celebration of Charlene, we have recently had our very own Pride March with members of the local community, neighbours, and all of our children in celebration of equality, diversity, inclusion, and most of all, visibility. By holding our very own Quality Protects Children Pride Day, we had speakers from the Michael Corso Foundation and our trade union community and members of the local police force. We had a really successful celebration of all of our commitments to LGBTIQA+ rights, but more importantly, we launched our annual Charlene O'Neill Award. Sponsored by our union members community, and it's going to celebrate the life of Charlene O'Neill and her commitment to the struggle for equality. And hopefully next year we'll be able to bring along our first winner of the award. So anyway, we miss you, Charlene, we love you, and we hope we have made you proud by accepting this award on your behalf. So thanks very much.
I just want to say about QPC, because Tony Nolan, the chief exec, would have been here. I know one of the things that he would have said, because he's very, very proud of it. I know a lot of you know that my background in recent times was the NHS, and in particularly with the CQC. And if you go and look on their website, you will see that they are one of the few. So take this on board, every trust within Merseyside and Cheshire. These folks have gone from the kind of the lowest score you can have. They are now rated purple, outstanding on the CQC scale, which is as far as you can go. So I think that deserves a round of applause. The reason I say that is simply because Tony and his team have really pioneered and opened the eyes of many about the difficulties that looked after children in the care home sector who are LGBTIQA face. And so much good practice has been developed. It's been recognised by the CQC. So I just want to kind of add my own little bit onto that. Okie dokie, are we all timing Katrina again? I'm going to make the most of it now, because I know I'm going to be in so much trouble. It's access to funding.
I remember that access to funding for very long at all, but it's really amazing to find out when we were doing this how much of a big impact it was going to have. My manager, who had like a really big part in this, couldn't be here today. She's doing what's not her important work, she always does. But she constantly talks about how amazing all of the work that you guys do is, and it's so brilliant to come here and see everyone and see so many people who are so invested in everything, and we're so happy to have this and to hopefully be able to keep doing everything that we're doing and make you guys proud.
Okay, right. Whoops. Whoa. Too eager, Tony. Thank you, technical people up at the top. I'm going to blame you. So, we'll try that one again. Clicked it once. Sefton MBs.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here to accept this award again on behalf of Sefton Council, and I'm delighted that the sun came out to shine on this celebration. I'm here in my capacity as the chair of Sefton Council's Corporate Equalities Group, and I'm new to that role and new to the agenda. And it's been a real privilege and a joy, actually, to work with so many committed, energetic, enthusiastic, creative, innovative people. And it's been wonderful today, this afternoon, to listen to the stories of so many others doing such wonderful work. This is great. We've made real progress, I think, in the last few years. We've got a long way to go, but the energy and the commitment all the way to the top of the organisation exists, and I'm really looking forward to working with Navajo and partners across the region. And I'm really sorry, Tony, it's the first time we've met, to hear that you're retiring, but I'm sure I'll still have the opportunity to see you and work with you. So, thank you very much indeed. We're very proud.
Katrina's had a sneak preview on the next one. Next winners. Walton Centre NHS Foundation Trust.
I'm not going to say a lot because I'm not from the Walton Centre. So I've come to represent Andrew, who can't be here unfortunately. So thank you. He sends his apologies and thank you for everything. So I've currently just took up the role as the EDI head at Alderhay and Chartermark, so hopefully we can start to work together. So thank you very much.
Angela just said there, so I hope we can, she's working across the trusts, two of which don't have the Chartermark, and she said, so I hope we can start working together. It's like, yeah, you better believe it, we got your email now. I think we know how to get in touch. So, okie doke, right. Our next winner is go, done it again, Cheshire West and Chester Council.
I'm Ian, Director of Public Health. It's by far the greatest fun afternoon I've had in 18 years. So, as you can see, we've got the team of us on a day out in the jolly. But it's really, really hard to get this. The team have worked so hard to it. We've got to represent our residents, but also our staff. And even better, some of the recommendations that you've given us, we can work together. So it's great to be part of the community. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thanks to the team.
Technology confuses me, judges shouldn't be letting me with it, is that this is now our new partners, yeah? So, Cheshire West and Chester Council are our new members of the partnership. So welcome to the family. St James's Medical Practice.
And everyone, this is great. I haven't prepared anything. I wasn't expecting to make a speech. But I must say, as a GP practice in Liverpool, I think we can say we're the first ones.
Yeah.
So that was... But it's not going to stop here. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to get more GP practices into the charter.
Yeah, we've got some fairs today, and that's one of them. That, as Nigel's just said, they are the first GP practice ever to gain the Chartermark. and we've both made that commitment. It's not going to be the last, so look out GPs, we're coming together. Yay!
It's right.
I'm sure that was someone from the NHS. Okay, next one is Harbour Housing. Keep the applause going, there's nothing to it. I know from experience.
Thank you, Trina. Thank you, Terry, and that amazing waistcoat, and for your continued correspondence. Thank you, Alexandra and Eve Marie, for your assessment. Yeah, it's a magnificent thing being here. You know, like being united alongside so many inspirational companies and organisations, and be able to provide the support to those we do. To enable them to live in self-actualisation. Visible. Joyously and free from prejudice and intimidation. So the battle is never over, but yeah, it's an honour. Thank you.
And just like we're going to say to Katrina, should we tell him that Eve Marie is your sister?
I'm going to keep that private.
Okie doke. So, a click again for our next winners. The Hive winner.
The Hive is a youth project, so with the theme of today being about issues and barriers for young people, we did opt to say a few words. So if you'll indulge us, a couple of us are going to say something, myself from an organisational perspective and then from a young person's perspective as well. I made a few notes before I came, and then listening to everybody else, I've changed those notes about 1,000 times. So this may not flow because I've got bits and arrows pointing all over this little bit of paper. But we opened just over 4 years ago in Birkenhead, quite a large-scale youth project. Open 7 days a week, 20 activities every day, with a target of having 3,000 active members of young people at any one time. But that target for us was more than just those numbers. Those 3,000 young people needed to be representative of the community. So that means 3,000 hopes, 3,000 dreams, 3,000 worries, 3,000 circumstances, 3,000 issues. And we're much more than just providing activities and something to do. We're about raising young people's aspirations, improving prospects, improving health and well-being, helping young people to achieve their potential and to be the best versions possible of themselves. So we strive very much to be inclusive and representative and involve as many young people as we can. But we recognise that there are barriers for young people individually and to groups of young people, including those in the LGBTIQA community. And right from the outset, just being satisfied to not creating those barriers ourselves is not good enough. We have to be proactive. Looking back, I've never personally felt for or said anything negative to the LGBT community, but that wasn't enough because sadly my own son, thankfully only for a short period, was hesitant to tell me that he was gay. So that kind of motivates me that we have to be proactive and we have to create a culture and a space that's safe for young people. And that is what I believe we have done at the Hive. That starts with the team. We recruit on values first and foremost. And two of our most important values are young people first and respect. So both of that leads in. And with our team, we celebrate difference and diversity. For so many young people, we need lots of different team members with different lived experiences and different skill sets. So we don't just accept or tolerate difference, we celebrate difference and diversity. And then for young people, so we have worked hard to create that culture where it is a safe space for young people, firstly to come, but then to thrive and to achieve. So we do have an LGBTIQ plus group, as we do have groups for disabled children and other groups. And that's an entry point, and that's a safe space to come and for peer support, but it's also a stepping stone into the wider Hive community to be involved in everything else that we do. And again, that needs to be proactive. So it is visual. We have activities and events around things in the LGBTQ plus calendar. We have visual displays in the building. It's very prominent and very present. And as a result, we see people engaged in that wider aspect of what we do. Our criteria for being involved in an activity or a project or in a leadership group or a youth focus group is being a young person, nothing else. And it's great to see people getting involved in everything. Interesting to hear this morning a couple of references to unisex toilets. Right from day one, we had young people's group that were advising on the build and equipping of our building, and they overruled the procurement team just by male and female signs for toilets. And so those toilets were in place right from day one, and that just was part of setting the culture. So we're very proud of what we do with young people, seeing young people thrive and achieve, growing in confidence. I skipped some notes there also about, some of that work is about setting that culture. Unfortunately, we can't set the culture outside of the building, but we can help young people grow in confidence. We can help young people develop the skills and the resilience that they need as they go out. But we're very proud of what we do and how we do it, so we're absolutely delighted to receive this Chartermark today, and we hope that it will serve to encourage others to come, whether that's to join the team that are working, knowing that for them it's a safe, inclusive place as well, but most importantly, young people, and that they will find a place where they can grow, they can have that confidence in being themselves, and we can play a part in helping them to achieve and thrive.
Sorry, I wrote this last night. Hi, my name is Bug. I use he, they pronouns, and I'm terribly grateful for speaking here today, and I really apologise. I'm very nervous. I'm one of the youngest in the room. Before I came to the Hive, I was struggling massively with my identity and finding people I could talk to and relate to within myself, and with hate crime issues, which I'm personally a victim of. I especially am grateful for finding this, because I found this through CAMS, which made me very yeah, that word. I was very unsure until I went, which I went the day after I'd done my introducing myself thing. I instantly made friends with everyone around me, and through time I've made family. Finding acceptance in yourself is one of the most hardest and most important things you can do as an LGBTQIA plus person, or just anyone in general, but being part of that group is something that I personally found difficult with finding acceptance for myself. Finding the Hive is something that helps you find acceptance in yourself without the sleepless nights and doubting who you are. I definitely did that, and I came and was instantly accepted with no questions asked. Sorry. I know it's not just me who's been impacted by the inclusivity here, and I'm forever grateful for the Hive for helping me and my newfound family with accepting myself. Oh God, I can't read. Acceptance is the bare minimum, but what the Hive do there and the inclusivity and just everything they've done is something that goes way beyond that line. The Hive is truly one of the safest places I've been to for being me. I could not be more grateful for everyone, especially Kat, who has every day helped me accept myself. I may not have been here very long, but it's the safest and most accepted I've felt, and I couldn't be more grateful.
What's the old saying? Out of the mouths of babes. And I don't mean that insultingly either in that way. Okay. Our next winner. Liverpool City Council.
Played rock, paper, scissors, I lost. How do I follow that? An amazing speech from someone about why these Chartermarks are so important. As an employer, we want to be inclusive, we want to be representative of our society, and this is just the start of our journey in Liverpool City Council. Something you said earlier on about everyone being an ally. That's something that we're really passionate about, and everyone being an ally for everybody to be themselves. This is just a stepping stone towards that. So thank you, Navajo and Trust, and thank you for this award.
Getting a bit easier now, isn't it? Okie doke. Our next winner. The Savini Group.
Yeah, it's quite hard to follow some of those speeches, so I was quite nervous before, now I'm even more nervous. But yeah, we are absolutely delighted to be here today and to receive the Chartermark. The Savini Group are really committed to creating an inclusive workforce for all to thrive in. We're dedicated to supporting the LGBT+ community, and we're really proud to be with you here. We'd like to thank Navajo for their support, their expertise and their guidance throughout the process, and we look forward to continue working with you to further our processes and get even better. So at the Savini Group, we don't and we won't stand still, and we'll continue to create opportunity and change people's lives. So thank you so much.
YMC Together.
Just like to say thank you. We're really, really proud to get the Chartermark for the first time, to join the partnership. And for us, this is very much just the beginning of our journey, really. And it's been really inspiring today to be in a room full of such inspiring and amazing people who are doing truly amazing things to make a more inclusive society. And we're really proud to be part of that journey and be part of that partnership. So we're looking forward to carrying on. So thank you very much for all your help.
Willowbrook Hospice.
the charge nurse at the hospice, and this process has been fantastic for us. The hospice only exists because of our local community, and they decided that they didn't have access to hospices, so they actually built the foundations themselves from fundraising. So we've always been part of our community, and to make sure that we know that all the community is out there, that we're there for them, has been one of our sort of goals and priorities. And yeah, we're just really happy to have been able to make the Chartermark and to start our journey again with the partnership, and make sure that everybody out there knows that they've got a place and a, you know, a sanctuary when they need us the most, really. So thank you.
It is like the pictures, those. Shouldn't put on popcorn. I'll remember next time. Next year, I'll be sat in the audience. Right, okay. Our next winner is Liverpool Combined Authority.
Proud to be here today. Now, we didn't tick the box to talk, but I've annoyed Tony so many times this week, I thought I might have to say something. And it's really just to thank Tony and Emma, who's in the audience, who was our assessor as well. They've been our critical friends, and anyone who knows Tony knows he's very, very critical at times, but he's also a friend. So just like to thank you on behalf of them for it. Thank you.
That's a polite way of calling me, and I'm Mark, isn't it? We'll have a pint later, Mr. Hunter. Okay, our next winners. Chesterfield High School Sefton.
Say a few words. As a school, it's been really important this journey, because the last 2 years for our students have been really difficult, because we actually made quite a lot of steps forward, but being in lockdown sometimes with your parents hasn't been a great experience that obviously you will understand. And a lot of the work that we're doing now is about rebuilding their inspiration and their confidence to be part of a wider community. What's great about this event is one of the things I talk to students about is, and particularly trans students, is their fear of jobs, their fear of careers and the future. And to be able to turn around, to be able to say, I've sat in a room with some of the best employers in Liverpool and Merseyside and Cheshire, and hopefully they will move, is great. And hopefully one of the things that you'll understand is there isn't many trans role models in schools. And all I do with my staff, which is Penny and Denise, is to be a trans champion and tell them that there is a great world out there and there are great people who want to make a difference. At the moment, anybody who knows schools will know this is the time where we actually try and get many children to apply to our school, and it becomes a bit of a sort of like world tour event. And last week I had our open evening, we had 1,600 students. I say that because we're oversubscribed, and I say that for Austin. But that's important. But the important thing was I took a child round called Lily. I took her round on a Saturday. We do Saturday tours if you've got children who are interested. And I actually said, at the end I said, oh, what 2 questions do you want to ask? And she just said, I'd like to ask a question. And I said, well, what's the question, Lily? Tell me what the question is. She went, I've got a friend called Lexi who doesn't know where to go to school because she's trans. And she said, can I bring her next week? And if a year 6 student tells you or asks you that question, I think you actually start to realise there is a good world out there. There is a future that can make a difference. I would like to say thank you to Penny, because behind every great man is the person who actually does the work. And looks after. There are other people here. I would like to say thank you to Savini, who are our governing board. It makes it a lot easier to actually try and change our little world. A big thank you to Donna over there, who has actually supported arts trans students on the journey when we've needed and given us advice, and a huge thank you to Tony, who came to our school about 4 years ago now and changed our world. And so I would say a massive thank you to you. And all our staff always talk about that CPD and how it made a difference. And when I said to them this year, what CPD would you like? None of them said anything about the curriculum or teaching and learning. They said, can we get Tony back? So I think that's a credit to you. So thank you very much.
At least a few words. I think it's been an incredibly difficult 18 months for all of us. So I think the fact that so many organisations have either achieved or been reassessed successfully for Navajo is a testament to all the hard work and the commitment of all of you here and beyond. I know that it's a massive, massive operation. For Tony, for the assessors and for people who support from the sidelines. It's a massive operation, and congratulations to all of you. It would also be, having worked for the CPS as an Equality and Diversity Manager for quite a few years, and having known Jane Roden, who was mentioned earlier, it would also be remiss of me to be up here and not to say that it's incredibly disappointing to hear that the CPS need to redouble their efforts in terms of bringing hate crime offenders to justice. So I would really use this opportunity to call on criminal justice partners to ensure that the CPS rejoins the table. The final thing I'd like to say is I'm going to get Tony back for all of this, because he told me an hour ago that I was going to be up here giving awards out. But just a personal thank you to Tony. On behalf of many of us, he's been an incredible friend, colleague. He's been an inspiration. I knew him, as he said a little bit earlier on, when we worked together for Sefton Council. I remember when he said, do you know what? I'm going to develop a Chartermark for Merseyside. It's just Merseyside then, was it? I'm going to develop a Chartermark for the whole of Merseyside. It's going to be even better than Stonewall. And in my mind I was nodding and smiling and thinking, Tony, nice one if it actually comes off. And here we are all these years later. And for me, Tony's been inspirational, he's been an incredible role model. I'm glad he's moving, and I know you are as well. I'm glad he's moving back, finally taking a breath, finally taking a rest, because this is it's very, very intense, not just now but all year round. And lots of luck to Andy and the team taking over. My only wish, the only thing I would really, really wish is just to urge those taking over to retain the ethos and the values of Navajo that Tony's created. We can't lose them, we mustn't lose them. And a final thank you, Tony.
Okay, I'm stunned now because that wasn't planned at all. Yeah, so if this works, that's our existing partnership as it is. Unfortunately, there was only one organisation that failed its assessment this year, and that's the Countess of Chester Hospital. However, I have assurances from them that they are already reapplying themselves to all the areas that were highlighted. The two organisations in yellow are Local Solutions and Liverpool John Moores University, who asked to be deferred simply because of COVID. That's absolutely fine. Team of assessors were already flat out, so to be honest with you, it was great that we had a couple of less more to do. But what that now means is simply, after today, with all the partners that have joined Navajo, and I've got to be not too quick or I'll lose the slide. More? Yeah. We literally have doubled in size in terms of the partnership, in terms of the workforce, the service users, the stakeholders that we already reach. So all I can say is next year there's going to have to be a second slide, which is great. But that's not my problem, thankfully. But I'd like to give all those partners a round of applause, please. So, yeah, it's that time. I was going to give him a waistcoat actually, and then I thought, no. So, he's already been mentioned. It's time to hand over the baton, as they say. So I'd like you to welcome the next chair of Navajo Merseyside in Cheshire, LGBTIQA partnership on Chartermark, Mr. Andy Herring, who's the current CEO of LCR.
Fill in Tony's shoes, I should write a speech, but I haven't, so I'm just going to improvise. Obviously, a lot of friendly faces that I know already and a lot that I'm hoping to meet and work with. Just to echo what's already been said, we were really lucky to have received the Next Generation Award in 2019, just when we'd set the foundation up. And that really kind of just cemented that we were on the right lines of, we want to work in partnership, we want to take the work of Pride beyond that Pride Festival and to work with organisations around the region. Since then, obviously, we've not been able to meet in person for Pride, but we've not been sat on our hands. We've obviously been working with Tony across the board, whether it's with Navajo, but also the Sea Magic charity, and we've been trying to make sure that we do what we set out to do and supporting organisations to reach our community. It can only be done through a partnership, and it can only be done by working together, which is exactly the values and principles of Navajo and why we're so excited to be part of it. I can give you my word that we will keep it completely into where it should be, as a partnership, as a collective, run by volunteers, free to access, but also expanding that list. You shouldn't need an extra slide, it should be next to 3 or 4 slides and keep it going across the region, because it is such an amazing thing, as you all can attest to being part of it, but also it's so important that we are reaching more and more people through the region as well. So really, really looking forward, and you're going nowhere, I'm sure, and I'm not going to look at you when I say that, but it's going to take us that long to get all the information out of Tony's head, but we are also going to, again, really keen to kind of expand that and work with everybody in this room. So yeah, looking forward to it, and thank you to Tony for obviously everything that you do, but also it wouldn't be where it is today if you hadn't gone. You're going to create that Chartermark. So yeah, thank you everyone, and looking forward to working with you.
For once, we're actually a little bit ahead of ourselves. I mean, I don't know, I'm dyslexic. I don't know what I'm about. I told you I'd make it up as I go along. Finally, maybe someone will believe me. Right, okay. We did have a choir planned. Unfortunately, they've all got laryngitis.
Oh, you can say voice, Tony.
You've been telling them I used to busk when I was a kid. That's a true story, that. I've brought you a few stories about life as a busker. So now I have to pay ahead, but I won't, because then we will go overtime. So, if I can just get rid of my dear friend there. we took that saying of Maya Angelou as, I suppose, the sentiment that would drive the partnership through right from when it started. And I think it's as valid today as it was when that wonderful woman wrote those words. Because I've got a shocking memory, as Julie will testify. Largely as accounts, I've got Asperger's, I've got dyslexia, you name it. So my memory's dogged from the start. But I do remember how people make me feel. Always. Yeah? And I think that's true of many of us. Most of us, I think, if we're honest with ourselves. So, it's been 10 fantastic years of these awards. Can't wait to get rid of this microphone, but never mind. It's been 10 fantastic years of these awards. We've had so many wonderful moments, and there are some of you that were here right at the very first award. And you will remember that we had little Libby with us. Tracy, I know you will remember that. She's now grown up. She was a young trans girl who was bullied out of 3 secondary schools and went on national TV, and the harassment got even worse. And her and her family came up to our first award ceremony to talk about their experiences. And the whole family came. And at the time, the youngest member of the family was little Dove, who was just 5 at the time. And after her mum had spoke, Libby herself had spoke, and they were doing a Q&A session with the audience. And at the very, very end of the awards, when it was almost time for us to go, little Dove just went like that. And for those who remember Drew Drake, he was a great big 6'3" guy, and she held her hand up because Drew had the microphone, and he went and handed it. And little Dove said, "I just want to ask all of you why people won't accept my sister. Because this is my sister. It's not my brother. I never had a brother. This is my sister." And for those of you who were there, you'll remember that. And I still get shivers just at the mere thought of it. Because little Dove, to me, said it all along with this. So each and every one of you have made a commitment to Navajo and to the partnership. We called it a partnership, but I kind of thought a few years ago I probably should have called it a family, but I'd been more, I don't know, probably considered more of a crank than I ever have been in that sense, if I'd have called it the Navajo family. But I actually think that's what it is. It's a family of organisations who make a commitment, not just to tick boxes. Some organisations have come along to Navajo because they thought that's what it was, and then they've kind of scuttled off into the background, and we've never seen them since, when they realised it wasn't a tick box exercise. This is a grassroots initiative. Okay, I've had the privilege of being its chair, but it's about all the people that you don't see. Andy just mentioned there, and Katrina did, the massive amount of volunteers that we have, and everybody is a volunteer. And that was another thing that was said to me. What, a Chartermark run by volunteers and is free, and you think you're going to sustain that? And I said, yeah. 10 years on, I still wouldn't be bet. They haven't paid up like much. The chief exec of the NHS and NHS Trust, so what can you expect? So all I want to say is thank you to every member of the family. You are all in contact with other organisations. So if we've touched and impacted upon you and we've made you feel good, then please tell other organisations, because this Chartermark is flexible enough. We've got little community groups like Sing Plus out in Sefton, to big organisations like Merseyside Police, the Combined Authority, which is a new organisation, but it's absolutely huge. And it's just a pity that Steve Rotherham couldn't be here today. Well, hey-ho, Mayor's are busy people. They have other commitments. We'll shame him into coming back another year. Well, I'm sure Andy will. So I'm going to shut up and just say thank you to everybody. You've made it an absolute delight. And when I knew that we couldn't have the choir, what I thought was the only thing I can think of, because we've always had a musical ending at every Navajo Awards, I thought I'm going to go back to the very first one, because it's still the most, I don't know, it's the one that sticks in my mind the most. And the story that I told then, just in case people came and chased me for these licensing fees and stuff like that. Many years ago when I worked in Granby Toxteth, I put on 2 events, and the wonderful singer Labby Sifry actually came out and did 2 performances for me at the Irish Centre. And his work is predominantly as a poet in later life. But he said to me then, if you ever want to use this song, use it. And so that's got me off the hook with paying any fees as far as I'm concerned. But one of the things he said to me is that people think that this is about race. But he said, I'm a gay man. And being a black gay man made it more and more difficult for me to have any kind of childhood and youth, anything positive. So it's not just a song about race, it's a song that affects us all. So I've asked if the college can play us out, and I'm just going to simply say thank you for coming. Give yourselves another round of applause. Good luck to Andy Holland. No doubt he will make the success of this. Katrina's got her beady eye on him, that's all I'll say. That's all Lida says. So if the college can play us out with Labby Sifry's Something Inside So Strong, I'll be very grateful.
Away, the faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I
Safe journey home, everybody. See you next week. Yeah. Actually, I won't. Someone else will.
That's